Game of Thrones. The epic miniseries, The Battle of Blackwater. Flames devoured the sea. Warships clashed in chaos. One man's cunning turned the tide, but victory came with a cost. Stannis Baratheon's fleet had come to take King's Landing. Renly Baratheon was dead. Davos Seaworth had saved the king. Tyrion Lannister had unleashed wildfire. The battle raged on both sides of the Blackwater Rush, the narrow channel that flows through the city. But as night fell, Stannis' men grew afraid. They saw a flaming omen in the sky above the channel, a blazing stag that mirrored the one emblazoned on House Baratheon's banner. And then they smelled it, too, the acrid reek of burning human flesh. 100 years ago, a young Maester Aemon had recorded in his journal what happened that night. This is what he wrote, quote, "The Baratheons were victorious, yet the flames atop the tower burned ever higher and brighter, until at last they reached up into the heavens like the horn of some great celestial beast. And there, in the black heart of the blaze, Davos Seaworth stood silhouetted against the firelight, a bloodied sword in his hand, his face a mask of grim determination. When the first rays of dawn touched the horizon, the siege was broken, with heavy losses on both sides, but the city was safe, at least for now." In the aftermath of the battle, Davos stood before the king's lair. Ser Varystan Selmy, who lay dying of wounds sustained in the battle. As the legendary knight breathed his last, he told Davos, quote, "Tell the king it was a good death. Tell him I died with my sword in my hand." Then he was gone. Barristan Selmy had died defending the king. In the ensuing peace, Tyrion Lannister would set about proving that the shadow in the flames that night had been none other than Seer Barry, the knight of the Kingsguard, come back as a white. By the time he was done, few believed it, and even fewer cared. Stannis was gone, and his fleet was scattered to the winds. The king was safe, and that was all that mattered. Rise of the White Walkers. From frozen wastelands, death awoke. Eyes of blue, hearts of ice. The dead do not rest. They march. That same night, deep in the icy north, a single figure emerged from the frozen wastes, staggering and weak, dragging himself toward the towering wall that kept the darkness at bay. He pulled himself over a snowdrift and collapsed, only to rise again, shaking off the numbness that had gripped him. For many long years, this walker had slept, but now he stirred, and when he opened his eyes, they were the color of ice and snow. His name was Cold Hands, and he was an agent of the others, the White Walkers who came from beyond the wall. He would play a crucial role in rousing the dead, turning them into whites and leading them south to bring winter to the entire realm. The Night King had risen, and with him, the White Walkers had begun their slow, relentless trek across the frozen north, raising more whites along the way, preparing for their inevitable clash with the living. But Cold Hands was not their leader. He served the Night King, yes, but he also served something else, something older and far more powerful. Jon Snow's secret. He was raised a Stark, but his blood carried fire and ice, a hidden truth to shake the Seven Kingdoms. But the story does not begin with Jon Snow. It begins in the distant past, with a secret so big it nearly shattered the Seven Kingdoms. Rhaegar Targaryen, Prince of Dragonstone, had kidnapped a woman named Lyanna Stark from her brother Brandon's tower. Soon after, both parents were dead, and the boy known as Aegon was born. Rhaegar was killed at the Trident, and Aegon became known as Jon Snow, taken in by Lord Eddard Stark. But Jon knew nothing of his true parentage. Not really. All he knew was that he was different. Somehow, his dreams showed him glimpses of a terrible power stirring within him. Power that terrified him. Yet when the time came, he rode out to face the White Walkers, striking the Night King down and killing the others, thus ending their invasion. And then he died. But before that, Melisandre had seen him as the Chosen One, Azor Ahai reborn, destined to save the realm from both the dead and the living. And in the end, it was Jon who saved everyone. Yet he was half Stark and half Targaryen, fire and ice, destined to rule the Seven Kingdoms, but never truly accepted by either side. The fall of Circe. She ruled with fire and fear, but stone and fire swallowed her throne. Her reign ended beneath the ruins she built, and Cersei Lannister began her life as the most hated woman in the Seven Kingdoms. The people called her the Queen of Thorns because of how cruel she could be, how vindictive. She'd use anyone and discard them when she was done. Even her twin brother Jaime had left her once. He realized that he loved her more as a brother than a lover. She ruled the kingdom with an iron fist, taking out anyone who dared defy her. Yet despite it all, people still whispered her name with fear and respect. Few expected her downfall to come from the Mountain. Clegane Bow, Ser Gregor Clegane, whose own sister had died at Cersei's hands. Mountain had sworn revenge, but no one thought he could actually do anything about it. Yet the Hound's path crossed with that of a young man named Sandor Clegane, and he took the young man under his wing, training him in combat. Then, when Ser Gregor finally faced Cersei, it was the young Clegane Bow who dealt the fatal blow. Once the Mountain was dead, Cersei found herself trapped in the Red Keep as Daenerys Targaryen and her dragons descended upon King's Landing. She tried to escape, but it was too late. The whole city burned around her as the Iron Throne consumed her. Finally, Cersei got what she deserved. The last battle. The realm burned in fire and ash. All fought for the Throne of Swords. But in the end, no king, no queen. Only stories remained. The battle for King's Landing was brutal, bloody, and costly. Drogon torched the Red Keep, killing Cersei. Daenerys descended into madness, consumed by the urge to burn the world. Jon Snow returned from the dead, claimed the Iron Throne, and threw the realm into chaos. The Starks rallied in the north, declaring independence from the south. Sansa Stark took charge in Winterfell, and Bran the Broken became the Three-Eyed Raven, seeing all things past, present, and future. Arya Stark sailed west, chasing the legend of new lands across the sea. Tyrion Lannister became the Hand of the Queen. Brienne of Tarth and Podrick Payne left for the river. Samwell Tarly became Grand Maester, and Jaime Lannister rode off to the sunset with Brienne seeking redemption. But in the end, it didn't matter, because that, too, was just a dream. A vision of things to come. The real story was much darker, much more twisted. Eberron Died, the whole world died in the end. No king, no queen, no lords or ladies, just endless winter and endless night. Only the stories remained. Closing. From winter to fire. From betrayal to destiny. The Song of Ice and Fire was written, and the world of Thrones was forever changed. So ends our tale of Game of Thrones. From the very beginning, we knew that there was something powerful stirring in the world, some ancient force that threatened to engulf everything. We watched as heroes rose and fell. We saw great battles and epic feats of magic. But through it all, one thing remained constant: the struggle for power. It's a story as old as time itself. The story of Game of Thrones. Now go forth, brave viewer, and write your own story. Go out into the world and make your dreams come true. Remember, winter is coming, but spring will follow. You can find more adventures on our channel. Until next time.